It looks like I'm in scrap bucket mode again.
Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs and the Idiot Quilter, and welcome to my weekly vlog for Monday, September the 25th, vlog number 331. I hope everybody had a good weekend. The weather where we are was really lovely. Not too hot, not too cold, nice and clear. It was a great weekend for weather. Might be just a little teaser before fall blows in its full force here. Yeah, because it is fall, right? But anyways, let's turn our attention to what I've been working on this week, and I have completely finished this. You've seen it in bits and pieces before. This is the what's called Cat and Bats Halloween quilt. It was a panel. I'm really glad the way it turned out. I'm very happy with it. Now, there is one little, let's call it a customization that occurred when I had it on Lucy and was quilting it. But I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. It just wouldn't be one of my quilts if it didn't have a customization, right? So other projects, I have finished the top. It hasn't been quilted yet, but this is Stephanie Stitch's pattern called Bloom and Grow. Great pattern. Check it out. Go to Stephanie's Etsy store and you can pick this pattern up. I really love it. And these particular fabrics I used were ones that Walter gave me 2 Christmases ago that I absolutely love. I could have made it bigger. If I'd added a couple of rows more to it, it would be a bigger size quilt, but this size is just fine for me. It may end up being gifted to somebody. I don't know yet, but I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. And I have been making some special gifts for some special people. I'm not going to say who they are, but as part of their little gift box that I'll be sending them in a few weeks' time, I'm including a couple of the Idiot Quilter mug rugs. And yes, 2 of these were made with Tula pink fabric, and you may think that's sacrilege, but I think it works perfect for these kind of projects. So yeah, I've been a busy little beaver this past week, and I'm still working on things. I got some other things on my embroidery machine that I'm started working on, and I've got 3 quilt tops that need to be quilted. So I've got a lot to do. And on top of it all, this morning after I'm finished this, I'm off to the doctor's to get my second shingles shot. You know how I love going to doctors. I don't, but I've had the first shingles shot 4 months ago, and now it's time for the second one. So I'll get that in my arm. And while I'm there, I'm going to ask the doctor about some other shots, like the flu shot, the next shot number 7 for COVID, and now there's this RSV thing. We talked a little bit about that yesterday on Stephen and Walter Live, so I don't know if I need to get that or whatever. So might as well ask the doctor and see what things she recommends. Well, I do want for sure the flu shot, and I do want for sure the COVID shot number 7. It's just a question of, can I get them from her, or is she going to make me go to the pharmacy and get the pharmacist to give me the shot? I hate doing that. I really do. We go to something called Shoppers Drug Mart here in Canada because they're on every corner. And yeah, I'd rather have my doctor do it, really, than sit around and wait for the pharmacist when they get a break in counting out their pills or whatever they do to give me the shot. Apparently now you can get both. Walter was saying you can get both the flu shot and the COVID shot at the same time. So we'll see how that works out. Because, our government, these pharmacies still haven't got it worked out to a system that, you're in, you're out kind of a thing. But we shall see. Okay, so that takes me to the YouTube channel of the week. Now, I love chocolate. I especially love Cadbury's chocolate, but not the Cadburys we get here in North America. I get the ones that are imported from the UK because they just have a different taste, slightly different taste than the Cadburys that we get here. But I know Cadbury's has plants in North America. It got started in the UK, and there's one in Australia as well. And each one has a slightly different formula we found on one of our trips to Australia when we saw the Cadbury factory. I think that was in, what was the name of the place? I can't remember now. My Australian friends will help me out on that one. But they did say that the sugar content is different to suit the tastes of each of those countries. So I prefer the ones that come from the UK, and so that's what we usually buy. However, I discovered this YouTube video about the Cadbury, how Cadbury makes its chocolate. And they've been doing it for many, many, many years. And this was a really interesting documentary. So, well, here's my review of it. This week's YouTube video of the week is, well, one for those of you that enjoy chocolate. I know my favorite chocolate is from Cadbury, and I like the British Cadbury better than the one they sell here in Canada. So when we buy Cadbury chocolate, we always look for the ones that have been imported from England. But I didn't know much about their factory in England, and I found this video on YouTube called Behind the Scenes of the Most Famous Chocolate Inside Cadbury Unwrapped. And it's really interesting. This video shows how Cadbury chocolate is made and some of the challenges that they have over the years of producing this particular chocolate. So if you're really interested in this kind of thing, then you'll want to see this particular video, Behind the Scenes of the Most Famous Chocolate Inside Cadbury Unwrapped. So if you're interested in how things are manufactured, or you're interested in Cadbury or in chocolate in general, you might want to check that video out. Okay, so the link is in the show notes below for that. There is also a link for Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen, which comes up this Wednesday, as it always does, at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. All are welcome. There has been some questions since I've been doing, registrations for the retreat, and I removed my email address from my show notes. I kind of hid it, and it's hidden from the bots. This seems to be an extra level of security, and but some of you are having trouble finding it. Now, I said the way you find it is if you click on my picture underneath my video, whichever one you're at, that takes you to my main page. And on the main page at the top, there are a series of tabs, and one of them says About. If you click on About and scroll down a little way, you'll see business email or something like that it's called by YouTube. Excuse me, frog in my throat. If you click on that, my email address will come up. You may have to click on a button that says that you're not a robot, okay? Another way to get it, though, because people were getting confused with that, is now I have put a link at the very top of my links in the show notes that says to contact me. You go to the About section, click here, and that'll take you to the About section that I just mentioned, and you'll be able to get my email address. Okay, there is a link to a video I made last week talking in detail about the fall retreat. You might want to check that out if you haven't already. I'm going to talk more about the retreat in a moment. And there are links to all my friends' YouTube channels that if you haven't checked some of these ones out, please do. It's worth your effort, it's worth your time, and it helps out my friends as well. There are some links to the past week's videos as well. So that takes me to looking out my window today, and right now the current temperature is 13 degrees C. I actually put on my jeans this morning. I hate that. I'd rather be wearing my shorts and my sandals, but I guess we're getting to that time of the year where I have to wear long pants. Maybe not. We'll see how this week turns out. Because I'm going to the doctor for an appointment at 8:45 this morning, I thought, yeah, I'll put those on because I don't know exactly how cool it is outside. And as I said, it's 13 degrees C, which is brisk. Okay, not cold really, not hot, brisk. And this is what the day is looking like. So I'm not sure what's in the forecast. I don't know if we can expect rain anytime this week. We had a nice week last week, no rain. And I'm just looking here on my watch to see what it's going to tell me. And it doesn't tell me anything. Oh, here we go. Okay, well, that's just other places. I don't care. Okay, I'm not sure on my watch what it is. But anyways, right now it looks like it's going to be kind of a nice day. Sun's just coming up. Okay. Excuse me. Frog. Okay, what's up on here? All right. What's pissing me off this week? Well, it isn't a piss off. First of all, there's not a heck of a lot we can do about it. And second of all, it's a good thing they do this. And what I'm talking about is recalls on products you may have purchased. You know, there's some sort of defect, especially recalls with food. And we got a recall on some food, some cookies actually, that we bought at Costco last week. I got a phone call on my cell phone, a recorded message from Costco saying that this particular brand of cookies, packaged on such and such a date, expires on such and such a date. There had been a complaint that someone bit into one of those cookies and found a piece of wood. So you could bring it back to Costco and get a full refund. And then I got an email from them as well. Costco knows what you bought because when they punch in everything because you have a membership card, they can see all your past sales. It's all kept as a record of everything. I think that helps them with, you know, when people bring things back, it really helps to make sure, one, that the person had bought it there and, you know, all the details about the product. But I digress. So these cookies were delicious, actually. They were oatmeal cranberry white chocolate. They were really good. Even Walter liked them. So you know that they must have been good if Walter liked them. We did not discover anything weird in them whatsoever. I mean, a little wood, a little extra fiber, right? So you plop out toothpicks, whatever. But we did take them back. Now, we had eaten over half of the box of them. So when we took them back, I said to the lady at the counter, she says, oh yeah, she knew all about the recall and everything. It was no problem. Gave us back full refund. I said, it's kind of a shame. I really like those cookies. As I said, you can see, we've eaten half of them. She says, I know. She says, those were good. But she said, somebody in the cafeteria, and I don't know, I didn't know that our Costco had one of those, but maybe they do in some hidden corner for the employees or something. And that's what I think she meant. One of the employees had one of these cookies, and that's who found the wood or something. So, yeah, I guess, okay, so what am I pissed off about? Well, I'm pissed off that I didn't get to finish all my neat, good cookies. But really, I'm not pissed off with Costco. This is part of, they have really good customer service. And, you know, they actually have a lot of things that get recalled. And you can go to their website and see what those things are. However, I have never had a phone call and an email from them about a recall, so this may be something new. I don't know. But I think it's a good thing. So I'm not pissed off at that. These things do happen. Now, I'd be pissed off if it was something else that, well, let's say you got sick. I'd be pissed off at that. You know, swallowed a chunk of wood. There's a 2x4 in my box of cookies. I just ate around it. Whatever. I'd be pissed off if something I bought there that was a non-food product had a recall and there was a safety problem with it. And you hear about those all the time, right? So that's a good thing that businesses in general do try to, in some way, contact you about recalls for your safety. I guess they're doing it to protect themselves, too, because they don't want a lawsuit, do they? And they could have some major ones on some of these things. But, I mean, so I'm not really pissed off at that at all. I'm just pissed off that quality control on some products, and not the fault necessarily of the company that's distributing them, but the manufacturers. That, you know, their quality control sucks, and there needs to be. Now, I know here in North America, in both Canada and the United States, there are laws, there are inspectors, excuse me, but, you know, there's not enough of them, I guess, for it all, or some people just don't care about their job. Especially with food. You know, I was saying about the Cadbury plant, and if you watch that documentary, you see how thoroughly they are concerned about the quality of what goes out of that plant. but not all places are like that. I dare say that if you're buying something from a foreign country, like let's say China, you don't know what the standards there are because their laws are different. And so, when I'm going down a food aisle, if I don't recognize the brand name on something or it's something I've had before, I'm a little bit loath to try it. In fact, there was something on the news, or Walter read it on the internet or something. Some lady's in hospital somewhere, I think in the States somewhere, with a really severe case of botulism, because she was in France and she went to a restaurant. She's a foodie, and she went to a restaurant somewhere in France that she really wanted to go to. That was a sort of, it sounded like a family-owned business, and she had canned or home canned sardines. First of all, you wouldn't get me near sardines in any form. Oh, yeah, slimy little fish. Ugh, no way. But she had those, and they were infected. They hadn't been canned properly, and she got botulism. And now, from what I've heard, or what Walter has read and told me, she's on a ventilator, and she's gone blind, and she's got all kinds of problems. And they're thinking she's not going to make it, all because she had a couple of sardines that were home canned. And so you see, quality there. I don't know if in our country restaurants would be allowed to have their own canned goods. But I guess in this part of the world, other part of the world, there doesn't seem to be anything controlling it. So yeah, you got to be careful. And right now, speaking of that, one thing leads to another here, if you've noticed. It's canning season, and I was watching the White Cottage Company YouTube channel, and she was showing how she cans things, and she was using a pressure canner. Now, I have never heard of a pressure canner. I'm thinking of the old days when my mother used to can things, and she didn't do a lot of it, but she had a canner kettle or something, this big pot, had a rack in the bottom. You put your mason jars in there, you filled them up like near the top of the jar with hot water, and you brought it to a boil, and it had to boil and steam away for, I don't know, a set amount of time. And then there's a process to get a seal, I guess, when you put stuff in to avoid bacteria infecting it. Well, I was watching White Cottage Company, and she was using this for the first time, this pressure canner. Which seemed to me like a good idea, though she didn't seem to be really sold on it. And she does a lot of canning. But one thing she did say is she does have, on occasion, jars that don't seal properly. And she checks these on her shelves. She does a lot of canning. Mennonite, or not Mennonite, Amish, background. So that's what they do. And she says if a jar lid comes off too easily, or it's punched up, she gets rid of it. She doesn't touch it, because that basically means your food has gone bad in there, and that's when you can get botulism. There are possibly other things too. So, for those of you that are home canners out there, I hope you're taking these precautions. I had been thinking about trying my hand at canning, but you want to know something? I don't think I will. It's a lot of work, and yeah, my luck would be, I'd have a bad one. I did make pickles years and years ago. Now, I don't think, I only made a couple of jars of them from the cucumbers we had in our garden or something like that. But when I think back on those days, I'm sure I must have read stuff about how to properly can, but I don't think I probably did it exactly right. Playing with death there, wasn't I? Yeah. So, anyways, word of caution. Be careful. And if you get a recall on food, by all means, don't eat it. Even if it seems okay and there's nothing's happened to you. And the possibility is that, in this case of the Costco one, it was only one cookie, somehow. Okay? Who knows? It may have been from the nuts. Or not nuts, from the cranberries or something. It could have been so not much, like not a 2x4 or piece of plywood. It probably was a stem from the cranberries that when it went through the plant and they were cleaning them all up and getting out, one little piece snuck in, got baked into a cookie. Probably wouldn't kill you. However, better to err on the side of caution, as they say in that case. So I'm not really pissed off that companies, especially Costco, were letting me know there was a problem. I think it's a good thing. You know, I'd be really pissed off if I died from a cookie. Okay, so new products. Yes, I have a few little goodies that I have bought. First of all, I went to Vistaprint. Vistaprint is where I got those banners that are behind me printed, and I've dealt with them for years for different things. Coffee mugs, you know, like this coffee mug right here. And I decided to get some customized post-it notes with my logo on it and some pens as well. And I'm going to be throwing these in with the bag of goodies that I'm taking to everybody going to the Stephanie's retreat in December. I also bought a food mill. We're talking about canning. Well, I wanted to, we have all kinds of tomatoes, and I wanted to make tomato sauce, try my hand at tomato sauce. So in order to do that, I read up on how to do it. I needed something called a food mill, and that's what this is. And it does work very well. And it's not just for tomatoes, it's for other things. But basically, you don't have to peel your tomatoes. You boil them for about 10 minutes or something like that. No, I think it was less than that. I think it said in the recipe, boil them for 1 to 2 minutes. I think I did it for maybe 5. Put all this junk into this, turn the handle, and all the skins and the seeds stay in this pot, and all the juice and pulp is strained through to where the container underneath your food mill. And I'm sure many of you know what a food mill is. For me, this was something new. So I got one from Amazon, and it does work. Now, how often will I use it? I don't know, because I am going to show you my process for making tomato sauce and show you how much success I had with that in a little bit of time here. So I got that, and yeah. So those were the new items. Now I have a few things on order, but I'll show those probably next week that are supposedly coming this week. Okay. So that takes me to our gardening, the grow lights and the deck. And I don't have really any pictures that are too exciting to show you because everything looks about the same. Actually, everything's starting to look dead. The tomato plants, I think, are on their last batch. Same with the green peppers. It's moving into fall. So we got to cut those tomatoes back and clean up the deck and everything like that, and then get some new growth going in the grow lights as well. I am playing with the idea of growing some garlic, because apparently you can grow garlic in containers, and I'm thinking you can grow them under grow lights. The only thing is, garlic gives off a really strong smell, I think, when you're growing it, and I don't want my house to smell like we've just moved to Rome kind of a thing. So I don't know about that yet, but we're definitely going to plant more lettuce. We're going to plant more peppers, the whole bit. But I thought you'd like to see what I did with those tomatoes. I just mentioned that I made tomato sauce. Well, I have a little video about my process that I'm going to insert right here, right now. So I'm going to attempt to make my own tomato sauce from the tomatoes we've grown in our container garden out on our deck. And you can see here I've got some freshly picked tomatoes from our plants. Walter went out and picked all of these. So we have yellow ones and we have red ones. I don't know what color I'm going to get from this tomato sauce with these colors, but we'll see. And right now I've washed them, and I'm just cutting them up into chunks and putting them in this big pot. Then I'm going to bring this to a simmer. And according to what I've read, I only need to simmer these for about 1 to 2 minutes, so just to blanch them. And then I'll put them through my food mill, which is here. So I have never done this before, so we'll see what kind of results I get. So now my tomatoes have been blanched, and I dumped out the excess water through this sieve, and I've started milling them. And you just put them in by the ladleful, a little at a time, and crank this around. And then all the pulp and that goes down into the bottom container, and I'm left with the skins and seeds on the top. So here's what I got out of all those tomatoes. It's not a lot. I didn't expect a lot. And it is a little bit more yellow than red, although in the camera it looks kind of yellowy, but on the stovetop it seems to be turning sort of reddy. And I'm simmering it now just to boil out some of the excess moisture, and then I will add my other ingredients to it. Right now I tasted it, don't like it. It tastes kind of sweet, actually, but I'm sure when I add other things to it, it'll be more like tomato sauce. So I went out and got some more ingredients for my tomato sauce. I have an onion. The onion we did not grow, although we do have some of our own onions, but they're more green onions. The red and the green pepper are absolutely perfect, and they came from our garden. Not a blemish on them. Absolutely perfect, and we have more of them coming. And of course, some fresh basil as well. Don't grow garlic, but I do have some fresh garlic in the fridge that I used the other day for my pesto, so I'm going to put that in as well. And I think I'll put in some probably dried herbs and things too as well. So I have all my other ingredients ready to go. My red and green pepper, fresh from our garden, some fresh garlic, not from our garden, some onion, not from our garden, some basil from our garden, and then some miscellaneous spices, some oregano, I'm going to put in a can of tomato paste and some pepper and salt. We'll see how this all works out. Okay, so I've got all my ingredients in here now, and now I'm just going to let it sit here on low for maybe an hour and meld all the flavors together, and we'll see what my tomato sauce tastes like then. Now, I was definitely in a harvest and make mood this week, so we had a lot of basil. We still do. Again, it's starting to kind of go out there on the deck, but that is one thing we know we can grow under the grow lights very well. So I decided to make pesto. And I've never made pesto before, but I do like pesto. So we did have to go for a hunt for pine nuts. I know there's other nuts you can use, but I wanted real pine nuts because that's what the original recipe for pesto calls for. So we went to a place called Bulk Barn, and lo and behold, there were pine nuts. They are expensive, $10.40 Canadian for 100 grams. That's not a lot. But in the recipe I was following for the quantity it was making, which wasn't a great deal that it was making, you needed about a quarter cup. So I bought enough pine nuts that I can make many batches. In fact, yesterday I was looking at the basil plant, and yeah, I should have doubled the batch because I don't think I've got enough decent basil to do another batch. Now, I didn't use up all the pesto that I made. We did have some of it last week, and the rest of it I froze. And I think with the amount I have left over, we'll get at least one more meal out of the pesto, maybe two. We'll see. But here's my process of baking pesto. So I'm doing a little experiment. You know that in our garden we have a lot of basil, so I thought I'd make pesto. Now, I don't believe I've ever made pesto before. Pesto really has a lot of very simple ingredients. It's supposedly very simple to make. And yeah, so I'm going to give it a try. So I got out my food processor, had to ask Walter where it was because I have not used this beast in a long time. And you can see I've got my basil in there. It's said to use about 3 cups loosely packed basil leaves. So I went out to the garden, I cut down some stalks of this, and I pulled the leaves off, and gave them a good wash in my salad spinner. So now they're all sitting here in the food processor. And then the other ingredients are some fresh garlic. They said 1 clove minced. So I actually have 2 cloves, but I don't mind it being a little bit of garlicer because I like garlic. I believe this is a 1/2 cup of olive oil, extra virgin. Yeah, there's a joke in there somewhere. I need 2 teaspoons of lemon juice. This is freshly squeezed. I suppose you could use the bottled kind too, but I had lemons, so I used freshly squeezed, and this is more than 2 teaspoons full. I will use my little handy dandy measuring spoons here to take out the correct amount. You need a 1/4 cup of freshly grated Parmesan. This is not the stuff you buy in the jar. This is actually comes from, we buy a block of Parmesan and we grate it ourselves. There is a world of difference between freshly grated and the stuff that comes in the bag or in the bottle, and toast it, quarter cup of toasted pine nuts. And that's what I have here, and I toasted them myself. Not too hard to do. And that's it. So I put all of these together. Oh, some freshly ground black pepper. And you put them all in here and give it a spin until you get it to the consistency you want, which is kind of on the smooth side. So I am going to do that, and then I'll come back and show you what the end result is, and hopefully it'll taste good. So I have now pulsed it, food processed it, chopped it up, liquefied it, whatever you want to call it. And here's my green mush, pretty shade of green. I scraped it down a couple of times in the process to make sure I got it thoroughly blended. And now the taste test. So here we go. Let's just see what this goop tastes like. Well, it's okay. Little bitter. I think it needs more Parmesan though. I'm going to put a little more Parmesan in. So I added just a little bit more Parmesan cheese. I added a dash of salt. It doesn't call for that in the recipe, but I think it did need it. And I added a little bit more pepper, and I added just a couple of more drops of lemon juice. And I've tried it, and actually, I think it tastes pretty good. So I think this is what we're having tonight for dinner. We're going to have this on some pasta and with a nice salad and maybe some bread, and that'll be dinner tonight. So we'll see how Walter likes it, because that's really where the test is. So I've been busy making other things as well using my 3D printer. Most of these things I'm making right now are for other people. So I have been making scrap buckets again. I now think I have 6 or 7 buckets made. 3 of them I have already allotted for gifts. The other ones are sitting, actually 4 of them I've allotted for gifts. The other ones are sitting there. I might make a couple of more using that two-toned filament, because I really love how it works and how it looks when it's done. So these are coming along. And now you know why I bought the Post-it notes with my logo on them. I made Post-it note, gnome Post-it note holders. And these are going to go into the little gift bags I'm putting together for the retreat as well. And this is a frame. Now, my sister is a cross stitcher. No, it doesn't mean she's angry when she's sewing things, okay? Everybody knows what cross stitching is. And she's done it for years. She does beautiful work, and it's very intricate. I have a couple of her pieces that she has gifted to me over the years here, hanging in prominent places in my house. I think I showed you way back at one video the wall hanging she made for me that she framed that has to do with quilting. Her stuff is gorgeous. Well, she said she's working on or has finished up a Halloween piece. My sister likes to make things for Halloween, and she wanted to know if I could print for her on my 3D printer a Gothic style frame. Well, she said about 7 inches. Well, I looked, and the closest I could find was this, and it is actually Baroque. So, you know, if it's not Baroque, don't fix it. And ba-dum-bump, I'm here all week. So this is the one I printed out. I actually made a second one too, because I got some ideas in my head that involve my embroidery machine, gnomes, and frames. Stay tuned for that. But anyways, this was as close as I could get. But it turns out that the opening in this is not big enough. She needs something that's 6 by 6. Didn't tell me that. She said 7 inches, and I thought she meant the overall frame size. But the opening's supposed to be 7 or 6 by 6. Well, that's a square, not an oval. Okay, I went hunting. I could not find anything that I could print on the size of my printers to suit that requirement. But I showed her a picture of this one. Actually, this is the picture that I showed her. And she said, but she'd still take this one. She might find something to do with it. Okay, well, she can have it. I made it for her. They take about a day and a half, about 20, almost 30 hours to print one of these. But as I said, I have a second one as well, and I might print some more or some other variations on this, because I'm thinking She's putting cross stitch inside hers. What if I was to put embroidery inside of mine? And I would do the frames in different colors. I did one in that dual color filament that I used on the buckets that I just showed you as well. So I'm playing with a new idea, and I'll share it with you whenever I get it finally formalized and a prototype made. Okay, so that's what's been up on my 3D printers. They've been going like crazy. So that takes me to Blast from the Past. And this is part 2 of our second trip to Australia that took place in 2018. And this is the second half of the Melbourne day 1, because on that trip we flew to Melbourne. And speaking of Australia, yes, we are going to Australia for the 4th time this coming spring, tail end of March. And we're off, and we come back sometime in April. And yeah, we're deciding right now. We've got our flight tickets, but now we're deciding on our itinerary. And it's looking right now like originally our plan was, and well, we haven't completely poo-pawed it yet, but we're going to fly to Sydney because my nephew lives there. I want to see my nephew. And then we thought we'd make our way to Melbourne, but we're deciding how to go to Melbourne again. Do we fly? Do we take the train? The train is 10 hours. Do we rent a car and drive? But we're not sure what there is to see of any interest between Sydney to Melbourne. It's about 1,000 miles to get to Melbourne from, or 1,000 kilometers, I think, from Sydney to Melbourne. In the opposite direction, we could make our way with a rented car up the Gold Coast to Brisbane. We've been to Brisbane before. Beautiful, beautiful city. Love Brisbane. That's where one of my subscribers lives as well. We'd love to see her if we do that. So it's all up in the air. We haven't got our itinerary worked out yet. We're there for about 23 days. So yeah, we'll see what's happening. But Walter, my travel agent, is in the process of figuring out what it is we want to see, we do, all that kind of stuff. And we thought we should review our old videos from our previous trips of Australia to jog our memory as to what places we might want to see again, that kind of thing. But you're going to get to see right now the second part of our first day in Melbourne in 2018.
However, if there's an emergency in your cabin, please contact our crew using the intercom beside the entry door.
Oh no!
Stand by for the police door. The Melbourne Star will give you a truly unique view of Melbourne. Not just the view you can see from 120 metres up, but we will tell you about many of the things you can't see that make Melbourne a special world city. Things like its history and community structure. The Star takes approximately 30 minutes to complete one lap of the sky, depending on weather conditions. It moves at just under 1 kilometre an hour, and that gentle, unhurried pace is all part of the experience. Now we'd like you to take out your map if you have one, and open it up. Note that the map is not to scale. It's to help you get your bearings and locate some of Melbourne's landmarks in relation to one another. You'll see that the map has 4 points of the compass clearly marked. If you look up at the roof of this cabin, you'll also see those points marked. Orienting the map is as easy as lining the points of the map up with the points on the ceiling. The Melbourne Star is shown in the centre of the map.
Let's see, we've done the Eye in London. We did what they call the one in Singapore.
I'm not sure.
Now we've done the one here in Melbourne.
So it'll be 304, whatever the fourth one is.
Huh. Maybe they have one in Rwanda, or no, what's that place called? Dora, whatever, the one horse town we're going to.
No.
Kumba.
That's in Abu Dhabi or Dubai.
Kumbaya, Dubai, whatever.
No, that's not where we're going. I'm just saying.
No, I know. Well, I was trying to figure out what that place, it sounds like Batchawanda or whatever.
No, we're going to Kumwara.
Kumwara.
And we're going to Ramnabul.
Oh, Ramnabul, that's the place. Ramnabul. Is that the one horse town? Yes, probably.
Well,
You're trapped in a bubble. Oh, look, Costco. Costco. We didn't bring our stupid Costco cards.
I took mine out, figured there's no.
Well, that's what I did too. I thought of leaving it in, but then I thought, well, no, there's probably no Costco. There isn't a Costco here. But I wonder if you go in there and you say, well, we're members, we didn't bring our cards, but we're members in Canada. I wonder if they can look it up on their database. And
Over if you can go,
of course, do we need a case of tomato sauce? Probably not.
it's probably okay.
Just be interesting to go in and look around and see if they have things that we can get. I wonder if they sell liquor like the American ones do. Yeah, it's got a case of liquor. Liquor? How was I supposed to dance with her? More later. So I wonder if this is higher than the Eureka building. No, it's not. So there's the Eureka building way over there. Let's follow my finger. That's the Eureka building right there. We were up there the last time we
Looks
were
like
there.
we're going bigger one than the Eureka.
Where?
Well, the green one's.
Oh, yeah, I didn't realize that was a crane. Okay. Wait. Up there. Finger comes. Oh, no, that looks like the picture. When I do that. But that was all Melbourne right there. Or Melbourne. I think you're supposed to say it as Melbourne. I don't know. Okay, so we spent the day wandering the city of Melbourne, which is actually a very nice city. Very walkable, very modern, very clean, and all kinds of things to see, do, and lots of places to eat. Actually, I think they have a better variety of places to eat than in Sydney, don't you think, Walter?
Yeah, that's from what I've figured out. Yeah, they have a more selection and it seems to be more varied types of food.
Prices are not cheap, but then again, it's a big city, and I don't think they're really any worse than if you were to be a tourist in Toronto. We had a nice lunch. You saw it on the video on here already at a place out in the Docklands, and that was okay. I mean, I wanted a Caesar salad with chicken, but they said it was topped with anchovies, white anchovies, and so I said, well, you know, I didn't want the anchovies, but then it turned out that that was supposed to be in the dressing, and although I like Caesar salad with anchovies in it, I'm always afraid that if they're making real Caesar salad dressing with anchovies, it's going to taste fishy, and you know me, I do not like fish, so that was really not an option. Wonder what this button does. Oh, I have no idea what that button does. But anyways, still taping. Yeah, okay, never mind. Play with the buttons while I'm doing this. Just trying to reverse the camera, but I can't seem to reverse the camera. So I don't know why that is. Anyways, so we're back.
Probably it can't while it's doing it.
Maybe. There are a couple of old farts. We're sitting here playing on we just upgraded to unlimited internet here at the hotel. So I'm going to try to upload this video, and if you see it, we'll know that it was successful. And we're enjoying a glass of wine from a 2-liter box we bought at a Woolies, Woolworths, no relation to the Woolworths that used to exist in Canada. They call it Woolies here. And booze isn't particularly cheap either. Beer is
Beer is as expensive, if not more expensive than Canada.
You know, when you buy it just like in a case or in a 6-pack or whatever.
Well, 6 beers cost about over $20, so.
Yeah, and wine was not really a bargain either. I don't know, how much did we pay for that 2-liter box? 20
Well, that
bucks?
was $12. That wasn't too bad.
Oh, that was on sale or special or something.
Yeah,
so
that wasn't too bad.
It's palatable. But anyways, that's what you get when you're roughing it on a vacation. Yeah, roughing it. So events in the past week, well, besides making tomato sauce and making pesto and making things on 3D printer and finishing up some quilt tops and doing some machine embroidery, busy boy in the last week. I pack a lot in a week. Walter was busy too, working on his she shed. He built a shelf. Now,
Walter says he's building a shelf. Okay, my idea of building a shelf is you get a piece of angle iron bracket, screw it into a joist, put on a board, you have a shelf. That's not Walter's idea of a shelf. And I have a little video showing you what his idea of a shelf is. Okay, so Walter's been working out here all afternoon, putting up a shelf, as they say, in his he shed. So we're going to see what this looks like. He says it's not that exciting. Probably
Decide
not.
whether they're gonna put one in below it or not, or
Where's your shelf? Oh, look! It's at one. You said shelf. I was thinking shelf, not a loft. Ooh, that is so impressive. Oh, look at the construction of this. Ooh, how professional. Oh my goodness. I didn't know you knew how to do something like that. That's amazing. Oh, but you can see it from outside the
yeah, I didn't have much choice.
May have to put a blind up there.
Yeah.
Or something. Piece of cardboard, that's nice. Or tinfoil, I hear people do that.
Yeah.
Tinfoil, yeah. But that looks very nice. So what, you're debating whether you should put another one below it?
Yeah, or I don't know. I'm not decided. I don't think I'm gonna wait till spring or something, because depending on what other stuff I put in here, I might put something on this side as well. I don't know.
I was going to say you could put another one of these types of shelves over on this side as well.
Yeah, I
but then
know.
again, you want to be able to put the ladders
But
and
yeah, I
things
don't want to
too.
put the ladders in there, so I don't really know if I want to do that. So I had thought of putting I wanted to keep it. If I put another shelf here, I don't want to go too low, because I want to be able to put the lawnmower in.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, like you said, maybe just wait until a little later and see in the season what you want to do with
What I
it.
want to do, yeah. But right now I can get some stuff off the floor, so.
Yeah, well, that's important. So, yeah, he's busily planning how he's decking out the inside of his shed and where everything's going to go. So, there'll probably be some future shots of what his little house looks like in their little shed. Okay, so what else happened? Well, on Saturday, we did something that's very rare. We went to downtown Oshawa, where we live. You don't go to downtown Oshawa. Downtown Oshawa is not a pleasant place. A lot of homeless down there. A lot of, quite frankly, druggies. Everything. Skid Row. It's not, in my opinion, it's not a place you want to hang out. But they closed off the streets downtown. They had something called Convergence, which I'm not really sure what that's supposed to mean. But they had a lot of service organizations with little booths set up. They had they called it a punk rock flea market or something like that. If you wanted anything for Halloween, that was the market to go to, because they had a lot of crafty things that all sort of followed the same theme of death, despair, destruction. It was cheery market, really. Yeah. Need a spider? Get a spider. Need a dismembered body part? Not a problem. They had them all. So we wandered around there. Oh, the big event was this big wrestling ring set up in the middle of the main four corners. And they had wrestlers, but these were the wrestlers you see on TV that wear wild outfits, yell a lot, and throw each other into the ropes and things, and, slam them onto the bottom. Seems to be something people were really interested in. Yeah. High quality entertainment. And oh my goodness, you ever seen those videos on YouTube called The People of Walmart? Well, that's kind of what it was like. Everywhere you look. We did not take any pictures because, one, we didn't want anybody attacking us because we're taking pictures or video of anything, because, yeah, it was that kind of crowd. There was a foodie area, food truck. Yeah, after what I just said about botulism and things like that, I'd be a little iffy on what we saw out there. And on a couple of the tables, the way they were serving the food, it was a certain ethnic group, and yeah, it didn't look completely like it was going to, follow the guide for safe food serving and preparation. So we didn't eat there. We ate in a restaurant we have a little small hotel downtown Oshawa that's relatively new, and they had an area, named after a sports figure or something. We went in there, and not knowing that Oh, there was a whole long table row of children. And you know what that's like. High ceilings, a lot of reverberation, a lot of noise, a lot of aspirin after you came out of there. I really felt sorry for the wait staff. I really did. They weren't our waitress was profusely apologizing for her lack of attentiveness to us, and I said, "Well, I see you got your hands full because it only seemed like there's only two waitresses on in this place, and they were running their butts off for these children, and I guess they didn't expect this because there was no warning that someone was bringing in these kids. I think they might have been part of a team, but there's boys and girls, and it looked like there were some adult supervisors there as well who were doing an excellent job of ignoring these children." Yeah. Anyways, this is one time when really food poisoning has its place. No, I didn't say that out loud, did I? No. Yeah, I did. Okay, let's get off that topic. So what's coming up? Okay, let's talk, about Stephanie and Steven sewing. Yep. Let's talk about the retreat. Wow. The number of people registering has been overwhelming. I'm almost full. As you know, I opened it up early for alumni, people who had been at the spring retreat first. And my plan was to open it up to the public on October the 1st. Well, within several days, I had about 50 spots taken right off the bat, and I have 93 from just the alumni. So I thought this was not going to be fair to people who are new to my channel, people who weren't at the spring one, would like to come to this one. So I opened it up last Friday to anybody out there that wants to, register for it. And I have 2 spots left. Now, don't despair. I'm going to establish a waiting list. When those next 2 spots get filled up, any more that come in registration, I will put on my waiting list. People will be on the waiting list in the order by which, from the date of the email that they sent to me, asking to be part of it. There are always cancellations, okay? And there's plenty of time for cancellations between now and October 21st. And, I have rules about how to cancel and things like that. So as soon as I get a cancellation, I will go to the first name on my waiting list, and I will put that person in that spot, and I will send them an email and say, "Hey, I had a cancellation. You're on the list. Do you want to remain on the list?" And if they say yes, then they are. If they say no, we'll take them off, and I'll go to the next person on the list and drop them in, and so on and so forth. So don't despair if you send in your registration, and I will send you back a note saying, whether you got on or not. I still have 2 spots, or whether you're on the waiting list, and it'll all be explained to you there too in an email. Okay, so I'm really thrilled that we have that many people. Well, put it this way, I'm almost sold out. Sold out, it's free. Maybe that's why. But the last one was pretty much sold out too in spring. I wish I could handle more than 93 people at one of these. But as I mentioned to you before, the cost of a Zoom license that would handle more than I have right now is not in my budget. So I can't do that. So anyways, thank you for all of those of you that have already registered. And as I said, don't despair. There's still a chance you could get onto the list, but you need to send me an email now about that. Okay, and later this week, Friday actually, I belong to a group. You've heard me talk about it. It's a members only group kind of a thing. I pay a subscription price for it every month called the Quilter's Way. I've belonged to it since its inception about 6 years ago. And the owner, operator, and a friend of mine who runs the Quilter's Way, she's in Calgary, is coming out to Ontario this week because she has a wedding to go to. And she's going to come here to my place Friday afternoon, and we're having a meet and greet with anybody that wants to come to it. The thing is, most of the membership are American or in other parts of Canada. I think right to date, there's only going to be one other person who lives about 2 hours away that says she's wants to come to the meet and greet. So we're just having it at my place. We're doing charcuterie and some wine and that kind of thing. But I was thinking, because I want to support her group, because I've been a long time member. I'm actually counted as a I'm actually considered a founding member of the group. And I know a lot of people don't know what it's all about. So I thought this might be an opportunity for me to do, to interview Kim and to talk, that's the owner, and talk to her about the whole Quilter's Way, why she started it, what one can expect to find there, what her plans are for the future, all that kind of stuff. And put that interview up on this week's So Chatty. There may or may not be a So Chatty this week. It all depends on how all this works out. I don't know. So that's what's in the back of my mind. Does she know about this plan yet? Nope. Thinking of sending her an email today and just saying, hey, I had this idea. What do you think about it? So yeah, I think I better do that. I'll make a note to myself to do that. So anyways, that's what's coming up this week. So nothing much more. So I'm thinking about a pop-up sew day. I'm not sure when. Because we're coming up to very soon to our Thanksgiving, Canadian Thanksgiving, which is earlier than the Americans. And then I've got the retreat. So I don't know. Stay tuned for any of that stuff. Okay, I'm rambling now. So I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you later. Bye for now.